heroes in a half shell. Turtle power.
Dave Sim, that would be me, interviews Kevin Eastman in a multi-part series on the origins of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 8, 1986, the Cerebus crossover, the front cover of which recently auctioned for an eye-watering $78,000 at HA.com. Turtles 8 Remastered 2023 is being offered March 1st to March 31st on Kickstarter, with a series of variant covers by some of today's hottest indie creators. Don't miss it. And don't miss Kevin's 12-piece Turtles art auction, including a page from Turtles number 8 with Cerebus on it, coming in the March 30th to April 2nd Heritage Signature Auction at HA.com. Also in the March 30th to April 2nd Heritage Signature Auction, my 3 Turtles number 8 variant covers. Now, let's talk to Kevin.
I'm like, I'd rather do anything but.
Right.
But anyway, so please, carry on.
I couldn't have internet access just because of Wikipedia. Like, I'll be sitting there and I'll get a song in my head, and it's like, what are the lyrics to that again? And it's like, no, do your work. If you don't have internet access, you can't go and check that, because you're not just going to check the lyrics. Then you're going to check, okay, who wrote the song? What else did they write? What movie was that from? I'm like a Trivial Pursuit head. But
I love that stuff, and I think that's where I love the research aspect, and I think that's why I probably have 8,000 books that fill every nook and cranny of my house. Because back in the days when, if we needed to draw a three-masted schooner or a Civil War battleship, we had books of those. We needed how to draw a certain type of bird or things. We had books for that, and so I had all these wonderful and amazing reference books that I do that. So I still have all those, but I still Google stuff when I need to. But it's funny to have one funny Wikipedia story where I accidentally went on Wikipedia to see what they said about me. Because I don't surf, I really don't look around at it. I just don't. I have no interest in it. So I went on Wikipedia because I had a link to it, and I saw that I was born in Springvale, Maine.
right.
I don't know where Springvale, Maine is.
Is there a Springvale, Maine?
There is a Springvale, Maine.
Oh, good.
But I was born in Portland. I was born in Portland, Maine. So
right.
So they have this button on Wikipedia that you can edit.
Right.
And so I hit edit, and I wrote Portland, Maine, born in Portland, Maine, and then went away. Then a couple days later, I went back to look at if there was anything else that needed corrections, and somebody had gone back in and changed it back to Springvale, and I went and I changed it back to Portland. Rinse and repeat. So I went in like about a week later just to check out some other things. And it was changed back to Springvale, and I tried to change it back to Portland, and he blocked me. And I go, I wrote a letter to them, and I just said, I'm like the guy this is written about, and I was born in Portland, Maine. Do I have to send my birth certificate to prove that I was actually born there? So anyway, it was just funny that.
Did you hear back? Did you hear back from them?
I did not. I never did.
How dare you?
I know, but then so you immediately lose faith in, if I'm the guy that was not born in Springvale and tried to change it to my actual birthplace, and they wouldn't let me and blocked me, how many other things are incorrect in that space?
Right.
So anyway.
I used to say the same thing about newspaper articles. I'm getting well informed reading articles about things I know nothing about, but things that I do know about, I go, that's not true, or that's sort of true, but man, that's a very weird way of putting it. Anyway, let's
Well,
let's get to our interconnecting cover here. I would never
okay.
ever have attempted something like this.
It was one of those things that I'd seen it done to great effect. In fact, I'll point directly to Jim Lee did a wonderful interconnected X-Men cover,
Right.
which as a bizarre aside or related aside, as we speak to the fans out there that might be bidding on this, I think his interconnected X-Men cover sold for a little over $3 million. If I remember right. I'm not saying that this should. Nudge, wink, wink, ha, ha, ha. No, but it was. He did do this wonderfully beautiful four-cover interconnected piece, which had on the flannel cover, cover 4 on the far right was a large drawing of Magneto, and so I kind of modeled it after that, where my last cover is a large shredder.
Right.
But I wanted to do something where, you'd see one of those great pieces back in the old, say, Marvel days or DC days. You see these wonderful pieces that would include every character in that particular universe. And so in that series of covers, I tried to get every single character that existed and was being utilized in the IDW universe at that time. So I I put everybody in there.
Well, that was really.
It was inspired, definitely.
You jumped ahead of my question because it was we're only 6 years age difference. So at one time you were the kid and I was the grown up. But the older you get, you start finding out you're a contemporary of people that were younger than you. That's a completely different generation, because I think the interconnected covers, the first time I was aware of them was whatever that Marvel Index was, or whatever that Mark Grunwald did. Weren't those interconnecting covers?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and that was after my time.
Spot on. Yep. That was a great piece. Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, that was I think that was continued to kind of circle the universe and build out this whole universe of characters. But that was it exactly. So that was a very challenging piece, and it was fun to do, and I probably will never do that again.
One is enough. One is enough.
Yeah, well, one is enough. One is enough.
It's it says in the description, there's a stat preliminary taped on the back for light boxing.
Yep.
Did you sort of like stick that on there as part of the auction, or was that always on there?
It was always on there, and that's a great question, certainly for technique. Because I approached all my early approaches to my work was very traditional, where you pencil the piece and then you inked on top of that piece and then you erased it and then you fixed some of the parts of the ink piece that was erased and this and that, and so it was always this. But everything existed on that one piece. And then when I started doing some more work in animation, or being around animators, and saw how they would do so much light table, where whether it be just the natural process of animation where you move the figure along, 24 frames a second kind of thing, but everything was light table. The backgrounds were light tabled, everything was light tabled, and so you had this wonderful system of being able to do a rough sketch or do a rough design and then refine it multiple times every time you put it on the light table, using that as a jumping off point. So it got to be most of my covers, and even pages, for many, many years, going back probably, my goodness, almost 20 years now. I would do them on to size, small, like printed size, say 7 by 9 ish in a rough form for my layouts, and then I would enlarge them. And this is when I was working just by myself, but even in part when Peter and I were still doing stuff together, is I would do some pretty highly detailed layouts, like the Cerebus Turtles crossover, and then we would enlarge them on a photocopier and then light table, although with pencil and then ink on the same piece. But in later years, I would skip the penciling process, and I would ink straight off the rough design off the light table, so I didn't have to do any erasing.
I've just been starting to do that lately and going like, is this okay? It's like,
Yep.
if it works, it works. Almost so many times it comes back to Wally Wood's credo of, I like to fill in my solid blacks and see how much drawing I have left to do.
Love it. Yep. It's I still have I have 2 drawing stations in my studio, and in front of my clear line of sight on each drawing station is Wally Wood's. I think it's 22 panels that always work.
22 panels that always work. Yep.
Yeah, and I love it, and it's a really wonderful sort of, as you're thinking through the process of that. But Wally Wood was one of those guys that I have this project called Drawing Blood, which I need to send you, which was very much inspired, by the legacy we were inspired by, and people we live on. There was actually a interview that Wally Wood had given towards the end before he passed away, took his life. Was the particular interviewer had asked him, how do you feel about being the legend that you are, being the inspiration that you are, the person you are that means so much to so many people? And if I'm not 100% correct, and I think the Morrow brothers actually found the quote, but he said that if I had to do it all again, I would cut off my drawing hand, which I guess surmised his kind of very torturous life. But it's hard for me, and I would guess you as well, who were probably very inspired by all things that Wally Wood did. He's such an amazing, dynamic artist that he suffered that much for a craft that we loved him that much, and then that was sort of, I worked that into part of my story in Drawing Blood, that my character's story in Drawing Blood, Shane Bookman, is inspired by a guy named Frank Forrest, which is my homage to Wally Wood kind of thing. But he was just killer. I still look at Wally Wood stuff and go, jaw hits the floor kind of thing, and go, wow.
It was he hit such a high watermark in his style, and was like so blessed in terms of the relationship with Bill Gaines, where okay, I'm gonna pay you what you're worth, and you'll just keep getting better and better, and that certainly is the case. But you end up creating these high watermarks that in your 20s and 30s, and come your 40s and 50s, everybody's still looking for that. Everybody's still, there used to be a lot more detail on the inside of your spaceships. It's like, I was 22 years old then, and I was being babied by Bill Gaines, and then when the schism with Gaines happened, suddenly you find out, okay, this is what most comic book artists' lives are like. This is the page rate that they're getting. This is how unstable the business is for guys who aren't Jack Kirby, and even for Jack Kirby on a number of occasions, and just comparing, his later life with, our lives now, and it's like working without a net. There's, we've got heritage auctions, we've got portfolios, we've got conventions, we've got this, that, and the other thing where you're not likely to actually starve to death if you're resourceful and productive. Wally Wood was resourceful and productive, but you just nurture an assistant to the point where, okay, now we're really cranking the pages out. They're coming out good. Everybody's getting paid, and the guy wants to go off and do something on his own. Well, of course he wants to do something on his own. You've turned him into a junior league Wally Wood.
No, it's I think that there's been a couple of decent books on the sweatshop and the history and things that have dug in deep on how our industry evolved, which I knew just enough about when Peter and I really was starting to have some success that we understood, because there was a lot of fighting to get Kirby's artwork back and his rights back and things like that we had no idea. We became informed later of so many things. That's just why for many years one of my favorite charities was a Hero Initiative, which was provide support to different artists that needed to pay their creators, that needed to pay their rent or
Right.
medical bills or things that and I used to go visit Russ Heath in his later years, who was just the guy that used to go to the Playboy Mansion and had worked on this and was just this fantastic illustrator, which was he was living in a very small condo in the valley in California, and you just have this vision of this guy should be in a mansion on a hill somewhere, but because he's one of our heroes, and so yeah, it's we do. Then you get these crazy guys like Dave Sim who says he's going to do 300 issues and then does them.
That was one of the things with Russ, where I forget where it was that I found his phone number, but it was in association with a print that he was selling, and that was when I got him to do what was really his last professional work, which was pinups in Glamour Puss, and it was. Yeah, exactly that kind of thing. It's this book isn't making a lot of money in the first place, but I've got to give Russ Heath $500 for these pinups just because the man needs to have a payday. It's I remember when I interviewed Russ when I was a fan, 18, 19 years old. And he'd say people would ask him, what goals do you still have left in the field? And he said, goals, I want to get my gold watch and retire. And that was 1974. So, it's like life goes on a lot further than that. He made a good chunk of money selling his artwork to heritage auctions. Like he got I think 100,000 or something like that, but you find out that $100,000 in 1940 is one thing, and $100,000 in 1994 is something else again.
Yep, that's so right. I spent a bunch of time with him towards the end, and I loved the moments, but it was also one of those things that was just it's like spending time with someone that loved to death, and you just feel that this really isn't fair, and that's where you sort of learn one of those lessons that, like, like even Jack Kirby towards the end, where he he would be the last guy that would ever come out and say anything against the work for hire system and say anything against this. Although he did, but he said we knew what we were doing when we were doing it because that's what we were doing.
Right.
But he still had a big heart, and his Kirby was a different thing altogether. Because he loved what he did. Not that I'm saying not that anybody else didn't, but it was just you just wished you would see all these guys sitting around a pool in a luxury condo thing set up just for them, where they could just sort of hang out and talk about the glory days and stuff. But that's pie in the sky for all of us. We all work hard for what we get.
Well, we're coming up on the 20 minutes, so we're going to. We don't want to end on that much of a downer, so I'm going to quote a Russ Heath joke of.
Please do.
He went to the doctor last week, and the doctor said, "Russ, you have to stop masturbating." And Russ goes, "But why, Doc?" And he goes, "Because I'm trying to examine you."
That is brilliant. I'm going to remember that one.
And that's very Russ. Okay, we're gonna shut off the recorder again, and we'll be back with our next piece, the album cover.